we are on a different topic. We are going to talk about keep rendering, adding interactivity. Sometimes something on a screen update in response to user input. For example, click in an image gallery switches to active image. In React, data that changes over time is called state. You can add state and component and update it needed. In this chapter, you learn how to write components that handle interaction, update their state, display different output over time. Okay. Responding to the event, React let you add event handler to ajax. Event handler are your own function that will be triggered in response to user interaction like clicking, hovering, focusing on form input, so on. Built-in component like button only support built-in browser event like on click. However, you can create your own component and give their event handler props and application state. A component memory component often need to change what's on screen result in interaction. Typing into the form could update the input field. Clicking next on the image cursor should all change what image is displayed. Clicking why post product in the shopping cart component need to be remember things. A current input value, the current image, the shopping cart. In React, this kind of a component specific call state. You can add state to component with use state hook. Hooks are a special function that lead to your component use reference function. The use state hook lets you declare a state variable. It takes the initial state and return pair of value. The current state and the state a function that will be updated. Here a hook image gallery uses update state on a click. Render and commit. Before you component and display it on the screen, there must be a render by the React. Understanding the state in the process will help you think about how a code execute and explain behavior. Imagine that your component are cooks in the kitchen assembling tested dishes with ingredient. In this scenario, React is what who put in request for computer customer and bring their order. The process of requesting and serving UI has 3 steps: triggering a render, delivering the dinner order to the kitchen, rendering the component, preparing the order in the kitchen, commenting the door, placing a state as a snapshot. You like regular JavaScript variable, React state behavior more like a snapshot. Setting it does not state variable already have, but instead trigger a re-render. That this can be surprising at first. The behavior help you avoid subtle bugs. Here's a little chat app. Try to guess what happens if you press send first and then change the receipt above when whose name will appear on the alert 5 later. Ready to learn this topic? Queuing a series of मेरा दिन तुम्हें let's go keep moving with the topic. Updating object in the state can be whole any kind of JavaScript value including object, but you shouldn't change object and array that you hold in a React state. Instead, when you want to update an object and array, you need to create a new one or make a copy of existing one and then update it. Then update the state to use the copy. Usually you will use the spread syntax to copy object and array that you want to change. For example, updating a nested object would look like this. If a copying object in a code continuous, you can use library like immer to reduce repetitive code. Updating array in state array are another type of mutable JavaScript object you can store in state and should treat at a read only. Just like with object, when you want to update the array stored in a state, you need to create a new one or make a copy of existing one and then set the state of use new array. What next? Head over to the responding to the event to start rendering change chapter phase by responding to the event. Do you get it? React let you add event handler to ajax. Event handler are use function that trigger in response to interaction like clicking, hovering, focusing, form and unity. Adding event handler. To add event handler, you must first define function and then pass it prop the appropriate gesture. For example, here is a button that doesn't do anything yet. Do you get it what I'm going to say? You can make it show a message when a user click these 3D steps. Declare a function called handle click inside the button component. Implement the logic inside the function. Use alert to show the message. Add on click handle click to the button JSX. Define the handle click function and then pass it prop button. Handle click is an event handler and usually defined inside your component. Have names as the handle followed by the name of event. By convention, it is common to name handle as a handle function by event name. You often on click handle click, on mouse enter handle mouse enter, and so on. Even alternatively, you can define event handler as JSX on mouse consciously using a never thought pitfall. We're going to read about it. Reading props and the event handler. Because event handler are declared inside the component, they have access to component crop. Here the button that when clicked show an alert message prop. You get what I'm saying? Let these two buttons show different message. Try changing the message passed on them. Passing event handler as a prop. Often you want to embed component specific children and event handler. Consider button. Depending on where you using a button component, you might want to execute a different function. Perhaps one play a movie, another upload a image. To do this, pass a prop and component receive from its parents and even enter like this. So here toolbar component render a play button and upload button. Play button passes handle click as a click on click prop to button inside. Upload button passes alert uploading as a on click prop. Finally, the button component accepts a prop code on click. It passes the prop directly to the built-in browser button. This tell React to call the pass function on click. If you use a design system, it's common to component like button to contain the styling button or specify behavior instead component like real button update. Naming event handler props. Built-in component like button or divs only support browser event name like on click. However, when you building your own component, you can name their event handler props anywhere. By convention, event handler props should be start with on followed by the letter capital letter. For example, if button component on click, props should have a on flash. And in this example, button click on smash should show that the browser button. Lowercase still need a prop called on click, but the prop name received by the custom button component, it is up to you. When a component is about multiple interaction, you might name event handler props for a specific concept. For example, a toolbar component receive on play movie and on upload image event handlers. Notice how the app component does not need to know what toolbar will do on play upload. This implementation detail on the toolbar. Here the on toolbar passes them down as the on click hand button, and but it could later be trigger them as a keyboard shortcut. Naming props after app specific interaction like on play movie gives us a flexibility to change how they use later. Event propagation. Event handler will also catch event from children and your component might have a. We say that the event bundler and propagate a tree. It start with where the two button both div and each button with the on click handle. Which handle do you think that click a button? If you either button on click, it will first followed by the parent div on click, so the message will appear. If you click on the toolbar itself on the parent, stopping propagation. Event handler receive a event project argument as their only argument. By convention, it is usually called E, which stand for event. You can use the object to read information about the event. The add event object also let you stop the propagation. If you want to prevent it from event from reaching parent component, you need to call stop propagation, like the button component does. When you click a button, React call the on click handler pass the button. The handler define the button and does the following: calling stop propagation, preventing it from building further. Also on click function which pass toolbar component. That function define a toolbar component display the on. Since the propagation will stop, the parent div on click handler does not run. As a result of stop propagation, click on the button now only saw a single alert rather than two of them from button and parent toolbar. Clicking a button is not the same thing as clicking the surrounding toolbar, so stopping it propagation make sense of the UI. Passing handler as an alternative to propagation. Notice how this click handler run a line of code and then calls the on click prop passed by the parent. You could add more code to this handler before calling the parent on click. This pattern provide alternative to propagation. Let your child component handle the event while letting parents component specify some additional behavior. Unlike propagation, it is not automatic. But is what the benefit of the pattern is that you can clearly follow the whole chain of code and execute as a result of same event. If random propagation, it does not difficult to trail which handle execute. Why this approach instead of preventing default behavior? Some browser event that default behavior associated with them, for example a form submit event which happen when a button inside a call click when reload will reload the whole page by default. Event provider, don't confuse it. Don't stop progression product, they both useful but are unrelated. Stop the event handler attached to the tag above the firing. Prevent the default behavior with few events that have. Can event handler have side effect? Absolutely. Event handler are the best place for side effect. Unlike rendering function, event handler don't need to be pure. It's so great place to change something, for example change an input value in typing or change however in order to change some information first need to do shame in React. That's this state a component memory. You will learn all about the next page recap. Okay, let's read about the next page. What does it contain? State. Component often need to be changed. What screen or result interaction trying into the form could update the input field. Clicking next on image cursor should change which image is displayed by should not product in this. Component need to be remember thing that the current input value, the current image, the current art card. In React, this kind of a component is spacing value is called state. When a regular variable isn't enough, here's a component that render a sculpture image. Clicking on the next image should do the next sculpture by changing it. Show on however the won't work. And the handle key event handler is updating local variable index. What two things prevent that change from local variable don't persist between render. When React render this component a second time, it render it from this. It doesn't consider any change in local way. Changes to local variable won't trigger render. React doesn't realize it need to re-render component again with new data. To update the component with new data, two things need to happen. Retain the data between render. Trigger React to render the component with new data. A state variable written adding a state variable. Pitfall. Meet your friend hook. In React, use state as well as the other function starting with use is called hook. Hooks are a specific function that only variable available while React is rendering, which can get into more detail into next page. This let you hook into different React feature. State is just upon those feature, but you will match other hooks later. Anatomy of the use state. When you call use state, you will telling React that you want this component to remember something. In this case, you want React to remember index. The only argument the use state initial value of a state variable. In this example, the index initial value is set 0. Every time a component renders, use state give you array containing two value. The state variable index with value stored. The set stater function which can update the state variable trigger React to render the component again. Here is something in action. Your component returned the first time because you passed 0 to state initial value index, it will return 0 index. Remember 0 is the latest state value. You update the state when a user click on the button called set index. Index is equal to, so it set index that tell React to remember index is 1. Now the trigger another render, you complete a second render. React still use state, but because React remember that one the state, giving a component multiple state variable. You can have a many state variable as many type of component. The component is true state variable, a number index and boolean software memory. We will show detail. It's a good idea to have a multiple state variable if state variable are related like index so more. But if you want often changes, it might be easier to combine these into. For example, if you have a phone, its component is true. State is isolated and private. State is local and component. I think 15 minutes has going to be complete in this series. It's an 100 video of this. I'm quite happy for this. I'm quite happy for this day because I'm reached a milestone which I didn't think so. I have only 6 subscribers now. It's quite good thing. Yeah, I'm keep growing. They will keep increasing over time. But main thing is that I'm going with the process. I will keep going until keep growing. There's no there's no but perfect criteria of defining how many video I'm going to create, but I keep going and I will make sure it help out the people in the future. That's it for the video. We'll see you next time. We'll see you next time. We'll see you next time. We'll see you next time.